Hi, I'm Meredith Plummer, and welcome to my Storytime studio. Our story begins with a marriage. A hunter and his new wife are celebrating their union when the hunter's new brother-in-law gets up to dance and recite poetry. The hunter turns to his wife. "Are you sure your brother is blind?" he asks. "If he is blind, how can he dance so beautifully and recite poetry so lovely?" The wife says it's simple. He sees with his ears. In the days that followed the wedding, the brother-in-law asked the hunter if he may join him on the hunt. But every single day the hunter refused. Perhaps the hunter thought that the blind man would slow him down. Perhaps he thought the blind man would get hurt and then his wife would blame him. Whatever the reason, he never let the blind man join. Until one day, after the hunter had come home with a large gazelle big enough to feed the entire village, he was so filled with happiness and meat that he agreed to let the blind man join him. The next day the two set out, and it wasn't long until the blind man said, "Stop! I hear a lioness coming." Now lionesses are dangerous. They could eat these two men with just a bite. So the two stood there for some time, until finally the blind man said, "No need to worry. She's found her cubs. We're safe." They continued on and on until again the blind man says, "Stop! Wait. I hear a rhinoceros." The rhinoceros is dangerous too. It could come charging and trample them both, and so they waited. Until finally the blind man said, "The rhinoceros has found a watering hole. We're safe." And they continued on again. Finally they got to the hunting grounds, and they both set up traps to catch birds. They waited behind the bush. It felt like for hours, until it was time to go. Finally, when they checked their traps, the hunter found he had caught nothing more than a small gray bird. The blind brother-in-law, on the other hand, had caught a magnificent, large, rainbow bird. It was so stunning, the hunter thought, "I'm going to take this for myself. My wife will be so happy when she sees it." And so he switched their birds. As they started walking home, the hunter turned to the blind man. "Tell me," he said, "if you're so clever, how come the world is full of hatred and strife?" The blind man paused. "Strife and war are caused by the kind of dishonesty and greed that you just displayed," said the blind man. The hunter was so ashamed. He switched the birds back and continued walking home again. "How is it that war can come to an end?" asked the hunter after some time. This time the blind man smiled. "Strife disappears and peace returns when people learn from their mistakes and change their ways like you just did." That made the hunter smile. And from that day forth, when anyone would ask the hunter why or how his blind brother-in-law was so wise, he'd just say, "My brother sees with his ears and hears with his heart." Forgiveness is such a crucial attribute. My question for you today is simple. Can you think of a time when you mistakenly made assumptions about another person? What happened? Share your story with a family member or a friend, or if you're brave enough, share it on our Facebook page, the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. #forgiveness.